Back in 2014, I reviewed a little anime called Bakemonogatari. I immediately fell in love with this series and then kind of fell out of love with it for a couple years. Then, since 2016, I've been trying to find more excuses to review these anime. So, I fired up the old internet tubes and I decided that here today I am going to review the prequel to the Bakemonogatari series. During Koyomi Araragi's second year at Naoetsu Private High School, he has a chance encounter with Tsubasa Hanekawa, the top honor student in his class. When they strike up a conversation, Hanekawa mentions a shocking rumor. A vampire with beautiful blonde hair and freezing cold eyes has been lurking around town. Happy to have made a new friend, Araragi writes off the rumor and goes about the rest of his evening in a carefree manner. However, on his way home, he stumbles across splatters of blood leading down the stairs to the subway. His curiosity pushes him to investigate further, so he follows the gruesome pools into the depth of the station. When he arrives at the source of the blood, he is terrified by what he sees. The rumored blonde vampire herself, completely dismembered. After she calls for his help, Araragi must make a decision, one which carries the potential to change his life forever. Kizumonogatari is the first in a trilogy of 3 films by the studio Shaft. They have done the rest of the Monogatari series as well, but also are known for March Comes In Like a Lion, Madoka Magica, and Nisekoi. For this trilogy, they adapted the Monogatari first season novels by Isen Nishio, who has done Juni Taisen, and the rest of the stories with the first season of Monogatari. This film was released in 2016 and is directed by Akiyuki, who has worked on Monogatari before, and along with that anime, March Comes In Like a Lion, Kofuku Graffiti, and Madoka Magica. The story of the Monogatari series is really hard not to find interesting. Throughout the series, we follow Araragi, a boy with seemingly a harem of supernatural women who all have unique backstories and characters. In this film, our focus is more narrow, with it focusing mainly on 2 characters, Araragi and Kiss Shot, Akarola Orion, Heart Under Blade, Fair Princess, or you could just call her Kiss Shot for short. But we also get a small scene with Hanekawa near the beginning of the film as well. This film is a prequel, and if you've seen any of the Monogatari series before, you will know something about it. For example, this is the series when Araragi has a life-changing event happen to him, which he carries throughout the rest of his life. As a fan of the Monogatari series and only seeing Bakemonogatari, it was nice watching this film because we got to finally see what exactly happened to Araragi, and as well, our first time seeing Kiss Shot. This anime, though, while being stylized and visually one of the most beautiful and interesting things I've seen in a good bit, has one problem. The anime story doesn't really begin to happen until 10 or so minutes into the film, and even then, it's a jarring scene at best with Hanekawa. Not to say that what we see in this first scene is bad. The scene was impressive with amazing voice acting and pacing and story, but I struggled to be interested in this film for just a little bit. After that incredible opening sequence until Araragi comes upon Kiss Shot. I'm sure this scene will come into play later, I don't doubt that, but having the first 10 minutes having no dialogue and the next virtually 10 minutes be a scene that struggles to follow that scene prior, and on top of that the scene didn't even make sense until later on in the film, it's not exactly the most compelling in the beginning. And it's not on the level of Bakemonogatari, which I personally still believe is probably the best in the Monogatari series, even though I've only seen that and this. But thankfully, this is the film's only true flaw. So, let's get on to the best stuff. As for the characters, this is the part of the film where most people will gravitate towards the most, and this isn't really anything new for Monogatari, as the series has rich characters that are wholly unique to this series and are all charismatic and well developed. This film is no different, and even without the added knowledge of what happens after this series, the characters are really good. The main example is Araragi, who is a normal teenage boy that just happens to be wrapped up in all this supernatural nonsense. He's perverted, he's kind of a coward, and he doesn't know how to say no to a beautiful lady. Then there is also Kiss Shot. Well, you know her full name, and she's a vampire. While we don't get to know her too well in this film, she's obviously a very memorable character with just her design, and the first time we see her is such a memorable scene. Probably one of the most memorable scenes in the whole series. You know, I've only seen Bakemonogatari, so we don't know that quite yet. And then again, we'll have to find out if this holds up. But for now, at least in the first film, these characters characters are heading in a great direction. It can't be understated why I say the Kizumonogatari art is visually some of the best looking anime around. Shaft, when it comes to the Monogatari series, always uses a combination of many different elements, like live action, papier-mâché, crayons, and traditional 2D animation. This helps make Monogatari one of the most visually unique series in all of anime today. Nothing quite looks like how this film looks like, and for good reason. But what I like most about this anime is that in terms of visuals, it holds back just a tad bit. For example, there isn't as much flashcards, action, live action, or papier-mâché in this film as, say, something like Bakemonogatari. I personally like this approach a lot because it's so different than what we are used to seeing from this series. You still get your artsy shots, but they're different this time and are more about the backgrounds or the character designs than the effects and animation quirks. For example, the trail of blood leading to Kiss Shot is visually striking and immediately gets you guessing as to what it could be. Will Araragi follow the blood trail? The visuals in this anime are as much a part of the experience as any other aspect, and probably even more than that. This film has a little bit bigger of a budget than the others in the series since it is an actual film. So now, everything I've said before, don't sleep on the art with this anime. It's incredible. The film's animation is just like any other Monogatari anime if you've seen any of them. Like the visuals and the art, it's stylized to such a point where you just know from one clip or even one GIF that this is a Monogatari anime. The animation at times can be fluid, smooth, and lifelike, and while other times can be extremely simplistic or even overproduced and floaty. All of this is intentional by the director and animators because this is the Monogatari style that is expected of the production staff and fans. In this film, the animation remains true to the series past, with all of what I said above being a factor in the first installment. An example of how well this animation is done is, well, the first encounter with Hanekawa. Now, to preface, I do not like fan service, but just look at this scene. It's wholly unrealistic in both character proportions and animation, but this is a prime example of how good the animation is because of the detail. Her skirt flaps in the wind, as well as her hair. And of course her breasts seemingly exist in a dimension of their own where the laws of physics don't work like ours. The beauty about Monogatari and with this film is that the animation can be rich and full of detail, and then the next moment shallow, but that is what this series is all about, and it's a welcome part of the experience. I think it goes without much saying, but Kizumonogatari's score is really good. Satoru Kosaki returns to score Kizu, and it's evident by his distinct style and presence. He has a style not that dissimilar to something like, for example, Persona or anime with a contemporary jazz influence. And that's what I like about this movie so much. Monogatari doesn't work if you take out just one piece in the cog. It has to have all pieces firing on all cylinders at once to create the authentic experience this series is known for. But without the score that we do get in this film, I wouldn't even consider watching it, to be honest. Not having his music in this film would more than ruin the experience. Kizumonogatari, just like the others, is an anime meant for a specific audience. It's highly stylized, goes against some modern conventions of anime, while at the same time implementing classic tropes and using them to the best of their abilities. This is an anime that will never get a dub or can never be experienced as the director intended for those who are watching it in subtitle. You basically have to speak Japanese fluidly to even get the full experience. This is a one-of-a-kind unique series that we will never see anything like again. And to be honest, coming back to the series for the first time in 4 years, I've been waiting. I really have. I mean, there was a time there where I didn't want to watch any more of it because I didn't want to go through all that subtitle nonsense, but this film was a good pushing off point for me. It's technically a prequel to Bakemonogatari, and I loved Bakemonogatari. Back when I first watched Bakemonogatari, I didn't really grasp the full experience. I didn't really understand it. But now when I went back and I watched Kizumonogatari, there's just nothing can really compare to it. But I'll see you guys later. Thank you guys for supporting me if you've been supporting me. You can subscribe if you haven't already, but make sure if you do subscribe to hit the bell icon button so you never miss a video from me. For YouTube now, it's basically a crapshoot. If you just hit the subscribe button, you may get a video if YouTube decides they want to send a video when I upload. So I upload a lot of videos a week, like 5, 6, 7 videos a week, so you gotta hit that bell icon button to get all the videos that I will be uploading. I would greatly appreciate it if you did that. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter, so maybe you don't have to subscribe, and maybe you just have to look for my tweets when that happens. I'll see you guys later. Thank you for all the support you give me. I appreciate every single bit of it. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.